Hi, good to have you again. My name is Christian Zimmerman, and today we have a question a atheist roommate asked me once. So he said, "Well, there are so many religions to choose from, so why do Christians always come with that name Jesus? Why Jesus, you know?" And I said, "Let me answer you with a question. What's the problem we're actually trying to solve in religion?" And at this point, let me tell you the story of my grandfather. So here's me, 12 years old, with my grandfather and grandmother. He is 80 at that time. He was born in 1912, and he actually died 2 years later. And I heard his short memoirs read at his funeral, which basically said, so I worked as an electrical engineer all my life, and when I retired, I was actually quite glad to have the extra time to study physics more. That was his memoirs. Nothing about his family, not really anything about his wife, whether or not she was loved. But look what I have now from him. It's his diploma thesis of 1937. I mean, this is even before the war, guys. And this is really a document from a different time. And actually, let's look into it a bit. I have scanned some pictures there. First of all, some hand-drawn diagrams, all hand-drawn. I mean, and today, of course, everything in a computer. But back then, if you make a mistake, throw away the page and start over. Here's an interesting thing. You had to even hand draw the formula into an otherwise typewriter text. But this is now the best here, those pictures of these technical devices. Look at this. I mean, this is the state of the art back then. Well, today this technology and greater, of course, fits into a microchip of 1 millimeter size. So this is really, really fascinating stuff here. And now here's his gravestone. It's actually that he will be unearthed soon because, they just need the space for, again, more gravestones of more recent deaths. He studied the same topic as me, even in the exact same building. This is interesting. Here, if you look into the address, it's the address where I studied electrical engineering. And he just was 70 years ahead of me. But I will also follow him in 70 years because also my gravestone will be unearthed one time to again make room for more gravestones. So do you see the problem? I want to read to you Psalm 90 verse 12. That's actually my personal translation from German, not so good to do that, but for this video I decided to do this because Luther really put that so well. Psalm 90 verse 12, teach us to reflect on the necessity of our death, that we may become wise. Teach us to reflect, oh God. Do you just go about your day, always distracted by your smartphone, work, and then in the evening, you have nothing else to do than to watch the next episode of your favorite soap, and then sleep, and then work. So sleep, work, repeat, really. We must learn to reflect. And in the last video, we heard God's call, where are you? Do you listen to that call? Teach us to reflect on the necessity of our death. Let me state a very certain fact, and that has nothing to do with religion. We must all die. That is a fact. One will die in a disaster, the other one in a war, maybe now in climate change. More people will die from famine and so on. Others from illness, and of course many others just die in old age, and that's somehow the desired way, isn't it? You get rich, you have a car and a house, and in your sofa you watch TV, and while sleeping one day you just die, and that's somehow desired. But you know, all deaths are basically the same. Doesn't matter how and when. It's the same death to all. So teach us to reflect on the necessity of our death, that we may become wise. That's how Luther put it. And it's really the topic at the very core of all faith. If we figure this out, then we truly can be called wise. But who can figure this one out? You know, no human can know how to overcome death. I think they're all equal, basically. They're all under the curse, so to speak. But in the creation story of the Bible, there's this metaphor again for mankind. Well, their death was just a consequence of the disobedience of mankind. They separated from God through their disobedience, and now there's death. So, what if our guilt is forgiven? I mean, totally seems right that then the consequence of death would also disappear. So 700 BC, there was the prophet Isaiah, and he prophesied many things about a Messiah to come. For instance, that he will be called Mighty God, and he will be born as a human baby. As I said, all 700 years before Christ. For instance, also in chapter 25, there is a great feast foreseen for all nations. I mean, rich food, you know, good wine, and there will be laughter, tears will be wiped away. And he says in Isaiah 25, 7 to 8, I would like to read this to you from the NIV. He will destroy the shroud that enfolds all peoples, the sheet that covers all nations. He will swallow up death forever. So this man will kill death itself. And actually, 700 years later, Jesus does die on that cross, we all know, and he claimed to atone for the sins of mankind. So the consequence of our disobedience is no more, and actually he overcome death. He raised from the dead, and he was met by 500 and more people, eyewitnesses that were still alive when the New Testament was written. So this is undoubtedly a very strong story about the meaning of mankind. The only question really is it true? So thanks for watching. Have a good week, everybody. Bye.